Hello friends, and welcome to a brand new camera comparison between the iPhone 16 Pro Max and its predecessor, the 15 Pro Max. Right now we are recording at 4K at 30 frames per second. Tell me in the comment section below which one do you think has better colors and which one has a better audio.
As always on our channel, we'll start by comparing some sample photos taken with the main cameras. But first, let me quickly explain the testing process. Every daylight picture is taken in auto mode with no edits applied afterward. All AI features were also disabled to ensure a fair comparison. Both devices capture excellent photos and share similar processing power, but there are some differences worth noting. With the iPhone 16 Pro Max, I observed that the sky appears more accurate in certain scenes, like the one shown here. While this isn't a significant difference, it's still worth mentioning. In the next sample, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is slightly brighter, but the iPhone 16 Pro Max represents lighter colors more accurately, closely mirroring the real-life scene. In other samples, like this one, the iPhone 16 Pro Max highlights darker areas more effectively than its predecessor. Personally, I prefer this change because the trees are more visible compared to the 15 Pro Max. Overall, both devices have impressive main cameras. Although the 16 Pro Max shows some improvements, the 15 Pro Max remains a top performer. Both phones are equipped with ultra-wide cameras, and here, the difference is slightly more noticeable in favor of the 16 Pro Max. For example, in this case, the colors are significantly better on the newer model, whereas the 15 Pro Max appears a bit too dark for my taste. Just like with the main camera, the 16 Pro Max highlights darker areas better, even with the ultra-wide lens. While the 15 Pro Max still performs well, the improvements in the 16 Pro Max are evident. There were instances where the iPhone 15 Pro Max was actually superior, such as this one, where its colors are more vibrant, and the overall image looks livelier. For the most part, the 16 Pro Max shines in detail, color accuracy, and sky rendition. The newer model is extremely color accurate and doesn't necessarily brighten scenes as the 15 Pro Max sometimes does. The ultra-wide camera on the iPhone 16 Pro Max is a significant step up from its predecessor, and I would say it's one of the best, if not the best, in the smartphone industry. Both devices take fantastic pictures at 2x zoom without losing details. The colors are identical, but the 16 Pro Max appears slightly sharper. At 5x, both phones switch to their telephoto sensors, where the 16 Pro Max again shows a sharper result. I also prefer the more vibrant sky and balanced colors on the newer device. In this next location, the iPhone 15 Pro Max surprisingly delivers a brighter image at 2x zoom. The buildings and trees are darker on the 16 Pro Max, making them more visible on the older model. At 5x we have a totally different story with the newer 16 Pro Max being fantastic. First of all, it is brighter compared to the older model. Its colors are also more vivid while on the 15 Pro Max the picture appears dull. In terms of details, both devices seem to be very similar. Portraits have always been exceptional on iPhones, and the 16 Pro Max enhances them even further. The picture taken with the 15 Pro Max is great on its own, but it falls short compared to the 16 Pro Max. In the left photo, my skin tone is more accurate, my hair is more defined, and the background has richer colors. Portraits taken at 5x continue to impress. My face and hair are handled better by the 16 Pro Max, but the 15 Pro Max performs slightly better with edge detection. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, a sub to the channel would be greatly appreciated. In this other sample, both pictures are simply amazing. The only noticeable difference is the color tone of my hair, which is slightly more accurate on the 16 Pro Max. Other than that, the two images are nearly identical. There are also improvements with the front camera. While my face looks accurate on both phones, the background is handled much better on the newer model. The 15 Pro Max already improved on this aspect compared to its predecessor, and it's nice to see the 16 Pro Max continue this trend. Other samples like this one aren't as similar as before. Here the saturation is much more pronounced on the 16 Pro Max while my face is brighter on the older 15 Pro Max. Honestly speaking, both pictures are really good and I can't pick a winner here. Both phones can also take macro pictures, and here the iPhone 16 Pro Max is sharper, but honestly macro pictures aren't really that important. Videos recorded with their main cameras are simply fantastic. iPhones are known to be the best smartphones for video recording, and the 16 Pro Max continues this trend. The difference with its predecessor is almost non-existent, but the 15 Pro Max was already the best phone for video recording. The stabilization and the dynamic range are amazing on both devices. Videos recorded with their ultra-wide cameras are also very similar to each other. Both devices continue to have fantastic stabilization, superb colors, and great dynamic range. To my eyes, the new 16 Pro Max seems to be a tad bit brighter, but for the most part both showcase Apple's unique implementation for videos. Moving to low light, from here on, all pictures are taken with night mode enabled. In this first sample, both phones capture my face in detail, but the iPhone 16 Pro Max stands out. My skin color is more accurate, and my hair is well defined, unlike the 15 Pro Max, where my hair looks less refined. The iPhone 16 Pro Max retains more details overall, and while the difference isn't always noticeable, it's still a step ahead of the older phone. Just like in daylight, both phones deliver exceptional results at night with their main cameras. The images are detailed, colors are accurate, and the light balance is spot on. In many samples, like this one, I couldn't detect any differences, proving that the 15 Pro Max remains a fantastic smartphone with incredible cameras. I noticed that the iPhone 16 Pro Max performs better when there are people in the frame. For instance, my skin tone is more accurate on the newer model, and light sources in the background are better preserved. On the other hand, when capturing pictures of landscapes, the differences are almost negligible, with both phones being top performers. The differences are more pronounced with the ultra-wide cameras. The iPhone 16 Pro Max is brighter and sharper, and even the people in the left side frame appear clearer on the newer device. Honestly speaking, I didn't expect such a significant difference here. In well-lit environments, the gap isn't as noticeable, but the 16 Pro Max still appears slightly sharper, with more visible details throughout. The iPhone 16 Pro Max always produces pictures with more pleasing colors, light sources are better handled, and details are more pronounced compared to the older model. The older model struggles with bright lights, such as in this sample, where the light bulb over my head is overexposed on the 15 Pro Max, but better controlled on the 16 Pro Max. At 2x, both phones deliver fantastic results, with my face, hair, and background appearing sharp and color accurate. The new 16 Pro Max is slightly more saturated, but the difference is minimal. Zooming in at 5x, both devices continue to perform well, with each retaining the color characteristics of their main cameras. However, the 16 Pro Max appears a bit sharper than the 15 Pro Max, which itself is doing a great job too. Once again, at 2x both are good with great colors and almost indistinguishable to each other. On the other hand, at 5x the 16 Pro Max is better here. Its picture has retained more details compared to the 15 Pro Max. It is also brighter and, in my opinion, better. This isn't a generational leap, but it is an improvement nonetheless. Night portraits are also better on the newer phone. In well-lit scenarios, the difference between the two devices isn't very significant, but I noticed that my face looks sharper on the 16 Pro Max, and I prefer its color rendition. When light sources diminish, the difference becomes clearer. On the 15 Pro Max, my hair blends with the dark sky, whereas it remains distinct on the 16 Pro Max. So, what do you think? Personally, I noticed some improvements with the new iPhone 16 Pro Max, but the older model still holds its own, and the 15 Pro Max continues to have a fantastic camera. The new one is better, but I'll leave it to you to decide if these differences are significant enough. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.